Welcome and thank you for standing by. Currently, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Today's webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be posted publicly. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. Now I'd like to turn the call over to your host for today, Wendy Peebles.
Thank you, Lisa. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, I'm Wendy Peebles, Lead Outreach Coordinator, Economic Management Division, Bureau of the Census. I'm excited that you have joined today to celebrate our series of webinars for World Trade Month. World Trade Month is celebrated in May, and we want to recognize the importance of international trade and the many benefits and opportunities it brings to businesses in the public and private sector. International trade strengthens and positively impacts our communities and the U.S. economy. Today's webinar, titled Puerto Rico Data Resources, will showcase Census' new experimental data products that features monthly business applications for U.S. territories, as well as some of the international trade branches' Puerto Rico-specific data. In addition, our final webinar in this series will be held on Wednesday, May 22nd. That webinar will provide a navigation of the census.gov website. There's a lot to census.gov trade you might not even know is even there. During this webinar, we'll be shining a light on all the lesser utilized trade tools and resources on census.gov/trade. We hope you will join us. The login instructions for these webinars will be placed in the chat. Following the end of this webinar, please complete the evaluation as this assists in planning future content. Please use the Q&A feature located in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, denoted with the three little dots, for submitting your questions. We have a team monitoring the Q&A. Following the presentations, we will take questions. The two presenters for today are Taylor Spofford and Jeremy Sanchez of the Economic Indicators Division, and I will pass it on to Taylor Spofford to begin. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Taylor Spofford, and I am part of the Business Formation Statistics Office here at the Census Bureau. I am presenting as part of World Trade Month due to our new Puerto Rico experimental data product released in March of this year. I will be going over the Business Formation Statistics program and how the new Puerto Rico product fits with our existing products. Here's an outline of what I will cover during today's presentation. I will be discussing an overview of the Business Formation Statistics program, the suite of BFS data products offered, the Puerto Rico experimental data product, and lastly provide a demo of how to find the Puerto Rico data product on the Census Bureau website. Before I begin, I want to let you know that for the remainder of this presentation, I will be referring to Business Formation Statistics as BFS. The BFS provide timely and high-frequency information on early-stage new business activity in the U.S. The BFS are a standard data product of the Census Bureau, developed in research collaboration with economists affiliated with the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System, the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, the University of Maryland, and the University of Notre Dame. The standard BFS dataset has 12 series, 4 application and 8 formation, and is released monthly with statistics for the nation, regions, and states. This data product includes seasonally and non-seasonally adjusted data. BFS are an administrative data product originating from the SS4 filings or applications for employer identification numbers, or EINs, filed through the Internal Revenue Service, or IRS. We also tabulate and project business formations from these applications and measure the duration between application and formation. What is an EIN? An EIN is a unique 9-digit number assigned by the IRS to entities for tax purposes. EINs never expire, and once an EIN is assigned to an entity, it will not be reissued even if the entity disappears. We refer to business applications as an application for an EIN made predominantly for business purposes. Not all EIN applications are included in our data. Those filed without business intent are excluded. I will discuss this in more detail later. Not all businesses in the U.S. require an EIN to operate. For example, sole proprietorships with no employees do not necessarily need one. These businesses are primarily independent contractors who rely on the entrepreneur's Social Security number for tax purposes. However, an EIN still has its advantages over a Social Security number for these types of businesses. For example, the use of an EIN can help preclude identity theft. It's important to note that all U.S. territories are required to have a domestic EIN when forming a new business. How is BFS useful? BFS can help businesses, policymakers, regional planners, and researchers assess the current state of early entrepreneurship at the national and state levels. BFS uncover the trends in business applications and formations at previously unavailable levels of frequency, coverage, and timeliness. The data can be used to study a variety of issues in entrepreneurship, including but not limited to the high-frequency dynamics of entrepreneurial activity, the effects of the business cycles on entrepreneurship, the effects of regional economic development policies on new business formation, the impact of state policies and regulations on business initiation, and the formation of new industrial clusters and agglomerations. A key benefit from these data are their timeliness and high frequency, which allow policymakers, analysts, and researchers to better monitor the state of entrepreneurial activity in the U.S. Now we're going to look at the suite of BFS data products available, including our standard monthly publication and some additional publications. All applications for an EIN via IRS Form SS4 are delivered weekly to the Census Bureau and are inputs to BFS processing. Our main series and top-line number is the Business Application, or BA series, which is a subset of all EIN applications received from the IRS, excluding those that were filed without business intent. Applications that are excluded are applications for tax liens, estates, trust, or certain financial filings, applications with no state county geocodes, and applications with certain NAICS codes. NAICS in Sector 11, which is agriculture, forestry, fishing, and hunting, or 92, which is public administration, and applications in certain industries, such as private households and civic and social organizations, are excluded from our business applications. For those unfamiliar with NAICS codes, NAICS is an acronym for the North American Industry Classification System. This is a classification system used by the federal statistical agencies in classifying business establishments for the purpose of collecting, analyzing, and publishing statistical data related to the U.S. business economy. You can find out more about NAICS classification on the Census Bureau website. From this business application series, we create an additional 3 application series, which I go into detail on the next slide. I want you to pay close attention to the 4 application series on this slide, because these are the 4 series also offered for our Puerto Rico data product, to be discussed later in this presentation. On the previous slide, we discussed the business application series, our top line number as demonstrated by the graphic on the right-hand side of the screen. You can see in this image how the 4 application series are related, as well as overall EINs. Next, we have High Propensity Business Application Series, or HBA, which identifies those applications that have a relatively high likelihood of becoming employer businesses based on several criteria, such as indicating hiring employees, purchasing a business or changing organizational type, providing a date for first wages paid or planned, being classified in a specific industry, or being from a corporate entity. From the subset of HBA, we have the business applications with planned wages, or WBA, and the business applications from corporations, or CBA. Note these series are not mutually exclusive. The business applications with planned wages is a subset of high propensity applications that provide a date for first wages paid or planned. The business applications from corporations is a subset of high propensity applications from corporate entities. These 4 application series are part of our standard monthly BFS data product. In addition, we offer the Business Formation Series as part of our standard monthly product. The Business Formation Series measures new employer firm births, defined as the point when an application is realized and a business begins to operate. The Business Formation Series is available in 2 subsets, measuring from application to when the business starts paying wages within 4 and 8 quarters. This slide shows the list of what is available as part of our Business Formation Series. These series are not offered as part of our experimental Puerto Rico product, so I will not be going into much detail on these during this presentation. However, additional information is available on our website if you want to learn more. We offer 3 additional data products outside of our standard monthly product, 2 released on an annual basis and 1 weekly. These are not available for Puerto Rico, but I wanted to bring them to your attention for awareness. First, we publish our business application series for annual county data each year, approximately 6 months after the year's end. Data are available in a non-seasonally adjusted format. We also publish industry-level detail for our weekly business application series each year at the 2- and 3-digit NAICS code levels for the US. Data are not seasonally adjusted and are typically available 2 months after the end of the calendar year. We also publish weekly data on a non-seasonally adjusted basis for the 4 business application series, the BA, HBA, CBA, and WBA, at the national, regional, and state levels. These data are available each Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. This slide provides a table outlining when we publish the data products we have been covering in the previous slides. We have weekly, monthly, and annual publications. We will see this slide again when I talk about Puerto Rico. So each month, we release our standard data product, which includes the 4 application series and the 8 formation series in seasonally adjusted and non-seasonally adjusted formats for the US, regions, and states. We also offer industry data at the national level. These data are available from 2004 to the present time. Each week, we release data at the US, regional, and state levels for each of the 4 business application series on a non-seasonally adjusted basis. These data are available from 2006 to the present time. We have 2 annual publications. First, we publish county data for each year available from 2005 to 2022 for the business application series. Our other annual publication provides national industry level detail for the business application series on a weekly basis from 2006 to 2023. This summarizes the publication schedule for the suite of current BFS products. Now we're going to dive into the reason you're all here today, the Puerto Rico Experimental Data Product. The monthly Puerto Rico Experimental Business Applications product was first released in March of this year and features the 4 monthly business application series. The 4 series, as discussed on the previous slides, are the business applications, the high propensity business applications, the applications with planned wages, and applications from corporations. Data are available from July 2004 to the present and use the same methodology for business applications as the existing monthly business formation statistics. We plan to publish these data monthly, along with our standard data product on the Census Bureau website, available on both the BFS page and the experimental data products page. This experimental product may not meet some of the Census Bureau's statistical quality standards. We are seeking feedback from data users and stakeholders on the quality and usefulness of this new product. If this product meets our quality standards and demonstrates sufficient user demand, it may enter regular production. Feedback can be shared by email at eid.bfs@census.gov. Here we have the BFS publication table again, but this time I have included Puerto Rico. I have marked where Puerto Rico fits in our current suite of products with an asterisk, as there are some important caveats to mention. Census products do not include Puerto Rico data in the US national numbers. At this time, we do not offer the business formation series for Puerto Rico. Our experimental publication contains only the 4 application series, as previously mentioned, which is the BA, HBA, WBA, and CBA. We only publish national industry data. Since Puerto Rico data are not included in our national numbers, we do not publish industry data for Puerto Rico. County equivalent data have not been examined and are not included in our current product. Puerto Rico data are available with and without seasonal adjustment. On this next slide, I have a screenshot of the BFS monthly release page on our Census Bureau website. The first screenshot is the top of the web page, and the second screenshot is what it would look like if you kept scrolling. We separated the images for ease of viewing on this PowerPoint. At the end of the presentation, I will provide a short demo that shows ways you can access these data from the Census Bureau homepage. The additional release file section has our most recent BFS time series CSV file, our BFS press release, a summary table of the month's data, a data dictionary, and a CSV file listing the weeks that correspond with each month of the calendar year. Below the additional release file section, you see the Puerto Rico section is clearly marked as experimental and is under our standard release files. You can see the experimental data product icon next to the title, which is another indicator the Census Bureau uses to show a product is experimental. If and when the Puerto Rico Business Applications becomes a standard statistical product, the Puerto Rico data will be added to the BFS time series CSV file above. The first file available in the Puerto Rico section is our CSV file, which provides the time series Puerto Rico business application data. Here's a screenshot of what this file looks like from our most recent release. The format of the CSV matches the format of our standard monthly data product. Column A indicates whether the data are seasonally adjusted or not. U means the data are not seasonally adjusted, whereas the A means the data are seasonally adjusted. Column B shows the NAICS sector. For Puerto Rico, we do not offer any NAICS level detail, so every row in this column will say total. Column C shows the data series. You will only see data for the 4 business application series and NAs for the formation data series, because we do not offer that for Puerto Rico at this time. Column D shows the geography associated with the data. For the CSV, the only geography available is Puerto Rico, since it is a Puerto Rico specific data product. Column E shows the year, and column F through Q shows the number of business applications for each month. The next file available in the Puerto Rico section is the methodology. Here's a screenshot of what the methodology page looks like. As previously mentioned, this experimental data product uses the same methodology as the existing monthly business formation statistic. The next file available is the data dictionary. Here we have a screenshot of what the data dictionary page looks like. As you can see, it shows some of the things we've already discussed when looking at the CSV. For example, you see in this first box, which is zoomed in on the right-hand side of the screen, shows SA as we saw in column A of the CSV. The dictionary shows the letter A means seasonally adjusted and the letter U means not seasonally adjusted. I recommend having this page open when reviewing the CSV as a quick reference for any questions. So far, we have reviewed the experimental Puerto Rico business application section as featured on our BFS page. However, the data are also available in another location on the Census Bureau website, our experimental data products page as shown here. Again, for ease of view, I split the web page into 2 sections. You will notice this page has the same links as the BFS page, plus 2 additional links. The first new link will take you directly to our BFS page, which we viewed on the previous slides. The second link will take you to a page on the Census Bureau website that features other Puerto Rico data products offered by the Census Bureau. On this slide, I have a graph that shows the Puerto Rico Business Application Series seasonally adjusted data in a line graph. You can create a similar graph on your own with the data available on our website. I will now provide a demo of how to navigate to the Puerto Rico data products. First, you'll go to the Census Bureau homepage at www.census.gov. And then you will scroll down to the Economic Indicators section. The Business Formation Statistics was recently released, so it's available on the homepage. But if it was not available, you would click on View All U.S. Economic Indicators. And then you'll scroll down until you see the Business Formation Statistics box, and you will click on the title. The title will take you to the Business Formation Statistics main page, and then you select Latest Monthly Business Formation Statistics Report. When you select this page, you will get to the page that we discussed during the PowerPoint presentation. Now, another way you can find the data from the Census Bureau homepage, is by selecting the Data and Maps tab. And then you can select Experimental Data Products. And then you can scroll down, and on the right-hand side of the screen, you see the monthly Puerto Rico business applications. And then you'll see the page that we discussed during the PowerPoint presentation. Back to our presentation. Here's our contact information for the Business Formation Statistics Office. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at the end of the webinar. Now I will pass it on to my colleague, Jeremy, for his presentation.
Hello, thanks, Taylor. Just give me a second to share my screen. All right, thank you, Taylor, and good afternoon to everyone on the call. My name is Jeremy Sanchez, and I work in the Economic Indicators Division as well. However, I am in the International Trade Macro Analysis Branch, which is responsible for disseminating the international trade data for the United States, including the monthly trade principal economic indicator. Today, I'm going to be talking about U.S. international trade statistics that we have available with the island of Puerto Rico. The Census Bureau is the official source for U.S. export and import statistics for trade and goods. The data that we offer involving Puerto Rico can be divided into two types of data. The first one that I want to talk about is the movement of goods out of and into Puerto Rico from or to a foreign country. And these data are included in U.S. export and import statistics that we publish. And there are two places where specifically Puerto Rico shows up in this data. One being the Customs District of San Juan. If you're wondering what a custom district is, simply put, you can think of it, it's a collection of ports. It's not tied to any specific geography, but can be found in a list of ports which is maintained called the Schedule D, produced by U.S. Customs and Border Protection. On the state side, it's more straightforward. Puerto Rico is a listed member of our state data set, so any of our state data will have data with Puerto Rico. So, where can you find the international trade statistics involving Puerto Rico? Two places that I would point a user to would be USA Trade Online and the Census Data API, or Application Program Interface. I will not go into these tools today, but not to worry, we will have a presentation next week on an overview of both of these tools. For today's presentation, I'll just say that data with either Puerto Rico or the District of San Juan is available on all data sets in USA Trade Online, as well as all endpoints in the API. Additionally, we have our port data set for both of these tools, which has data on all the ports within the Custom District of San Juan, and you can see them listed here. Both of these tools are free to use. And USA Trade Online, for that one, you do need to create an account. But for the API, you don't need to make an account. You just have to construct the call. And you can see an example of an output from our API on the slide. So we have Puerto Rico listed as PR for the state. And then we also have the 2-digit NAICS categories along with our annual exported value for 2023. So that is what is listed here. So let's see what some of this data looks like. First, we'll start with district level data. And we can see the top 5 trading partners for the San Juan district for both imports and exports. So the first one, visual on the left, is going to be exports. And we can see here the top 3 export partners are the Netherlands, with over $4 billion worth of goods exported in 2023, followed by Spain and Belgium. On the import side, we can see the top 5 countries are Ireland, Switzerland, Mexico, Singapore, and Portugal. In both of these graphs, we can see the top 5 countries account for at least 50% for both imports and exports with the District of San Juan. Moving on to state import data, we can see that in our first graph. It's the annual imports into Puerto Rico. So this has data all the way back to 2008, which is the earliest year in our state import data set. And as you can see, there's a general upward trend with the last 2 years showing an import value over $25 billion. But overall, there's still some variation from year to year. Looking at the second graph here, this is from our port data set. And the port we chose to show is the San Juan International Airport. And this is showing the top 5 commodities instead of the countries of the last slide. As you can see, medication in measured doses is the dominant commodity being exported from the San Juan Airport, and that the top 5 commodities account for 83% of all exports, with many of the top 5 commodities being related to the medical field. In addition to trade between Puerto Rico and a foreign country or a trading partner, the U.S. Census Bureau also produces trade data between the U.S. and Puerto Rico. This is goods leaving the United States and going to Puerto Rico, or goods that leave Puerto Rico and go to the United States only. These data are compiled through electronic export filing within the Automated Export Service, or AES. It's not in the API or USA Trade Online. So that begs the question, where does one find this data? So currently, our main data release that deals with data is called the FT 895, U.S. Trade with Puerto Rico and U.S. Possession. This is an annual publication coming out once a year, and it has some explanatory notes, but it's principally composed of tables, over 400 pages tables. And you can see an example of one of those tables on the screen. It's very detailed data. What makes up those 400 pages. So it's broken down by Schedule B codes, which is the classification system used for exports generally, but also for trade between the U.S. and U.S. possessions. So after the code, we can see the associated commodity description and more of a plain language, along with the unit of quantity and the net quantity being the quantity not including any packaging or shipping containers or anything like that, along with the associated value for all method of transportation. We also break it up by the vessel and air method of transportation, with where you see the shipping weight, that is shipping weight including that packaging. That's an important distinction to point out. We also have the value for both. And for these commodities, you can see it is very much on the vessel side and very little on the air side. Our second way that you can get this data right now is through our data products, specifically to trade with U.S. possessions, otherwise known as the possessions file. So this is a monthly or annual subscription wherein you get a fixed format text file that looks something like you have on the screen. So the first character is the indicator of whether or not it's shipments to Puerto Rico or other U.S. territories, because this includes territories other than Puerto Rico, or shipments from those territories to the United States. Followed by that indicator character, you have the Schedule B code, similar to what we saw before, and then the description, along with the territory code and description, along with the custom district code and description of that. And there's actually more data even than you see on the screen, which has the things like the quantity, the shipping weight, and the value. And it has a data a monthly and a year-to-date aggregation. So if you have the June file, you get the June monthly data along with all the aggregation for the entire year for that particular combination of commodity, territory, and district. However, for both the FT895 as well as this data product file, you don't get to see a time series, so multiple time periods. If you'd like to do that, you'd have to do the analysis on your own with multiple versions of the files. So that leads us into future plan. We are always striving to improve access to our data products for our users. And the trade with the US territory, specifically Puerto Rico, is one of those areas that we're trying to improve right now. The things that we're looking at improving is access of the trade data, so making the monthly data more available outside of the data product subscription. The other thing we're working on is increasing the ease of use. So instead of having this large text file where you might need some technical skills to extract the data out of and sort it for your own analysis, or a PDF file, which can be hard to work with if you're looking for something specifically, or to do a combination of multiple time periods. We want to allow users to filter and select the slice of data they want and be able to download it in a format they're able to work on, kind of similar to USA Trade Online or the API, which again, you'll see next week if you attend the webinar. I hope you do. So a quick peek into one of the tools that we are developing. As a caveat, it's still very much in a beta format, so we're not able to demo it today fully, but I do have some screenshots for our US Trade with Territories data tool. So this is a dashboard we're currently developing, which we have monthly and annual trade data with territories, and allow users to visually see the data, so it's not really available in either FT895 or the data products file. But we also allow you, as you can see in the filters in the right hand of the screen, to filter down and find exactly the data that you're interested in and eventually download it. One note I'll say, you might be seeing that there's a big drop in 2023. These graphs and the tool is working on an older version of data from June of 2023, so it just doesn't have all the data for that year. I just want to point that out. But you can see on the screen we have the top, which is the total for all territories, annual totals, and then you can see it on the bottom screen broken up by the territory. In this case, most of it happens to be the Puerto Rico to the US. We don't have a publication date for the tool right now because we're going through the review and design process and iterating that, but something that we're working towards publishing sometime this year. That concludes all my prepared slides. Now we're going to move on to the questions. So I can take any of the questions that are in the Q&A and have not been answered about my slides, and then maybe open up to questions for both me and Taylor. And then while we take questions, I'm going to move on to the contact slide, so that way no one's scrambling to write down the information at the end. So here's that for both my contact information and Taylor's information if you didn't grab that, my branch being the second one. Is there any questions in the chat that I've missed? Okay, great.
Jeremy or Taylor, are there any highlights or special points or any common reoccurring questions that may have been received in your area regarding your presentations that you can share with the audience?
I think all I can say is that we do have our experimental data product is new, so I hope that you take the time to go to our website and check it out and provide us any feedback if you have it.
Great, thank you so much.
And yeah, I think sometimes people ask where they can find some of these tools. So if you go on the census.gov/foreign-trade, You can find the FT895 in our data tab under other press releases. And to find for more information on data products, it's also on the data tab. If you scroll to the end of that page, you'll see sample files and more information, record layouts, things like that.
Okay, great. We'll still check the Q&A for any incoming questions, but I certainly want to thank our experts today for their presentations on the business formation statistics and also U.S. international trade stats in Puerto Rico. You were able to receive a demo on the BFS, so please, visit the site and check it out. And as Taylor mentioned, provide any feedback that you have. And also, as Jeremy mentioned, we do have our final webinar next week on navigating international trade data tools on the census.gov trade website. So we certainly welcome you to join us again next week, next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Please check the Census Academy page for that login information. And as you exit today, please complete the evaluation. And we certainly thank you for joining today. So we'll do one last call for any questions. Jeremy or Taylor, anything in the chat or Q&A?
The BFS folks, if you guys could throw your pertinent links in there, that would be helpful.
Thanks, Jason.
Okay, great. And also too, maybe about 10 business days following today, these presentations, the transcript and recording will be placed on the Census Academy site. And that is the same place where you receive the login information for today's webinar. Okay, great. I think this completes the webinar. We certainly thank you for joining and enjoy the rest of your day.